It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, where there are two sides to every story. Enjoy the broadcast. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. It's Thursday night, and it's Monroe County Uncovered. It's time for Monroe County to be uncovered. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. If you're watching from Facebook, do me a solid. Just share the broadcast. I just need you guys to do that for me so that we can spread this show, the content, so we can get so much more support, and then you guys can see me more, right? So please share it. If you're watching from YouTube, do me a favor and subscribe to the Ella Johnson Show. I mean, you're already there. Just hit subscribe. And you don't have to worry about missing another show, right? So I am just excited to bring this, to have this series. This is something that I wanted to start on the Ella Johnson Show because in Monroe County, it looks like there's a lot of things that need to be uncovered. So I think the topic is fitting. So I am so glad to have Dr. Turner here with me again tonight because we have a lot of information to cover, guys. I'm just letting you know. All right. So tonight on the Ella Johnson Show, we are going to be transparent. That's why we call it Transparency on Trial. Now, tonight on Monroe County Uncovered, we stop the rumors, and look at the records. Y'all know how we are. We love to talk about this and this and this. Nobody ever looks at the evidence. I'm bringing the evidence to you so you don't have to talk. You can talk about what you've seen as far as what's in black and white. Everyone is talking about this $97,000. Y'all all think that there was money that was stolen that has to be paid back. There's controversy around this, and it has taken over the headlines, like real talk. But are you getting the full story? Well, you're going to get it here on the Ella Johnson Show. I'm sitting down with Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh to break down exactly what happened. Y'all know you want to know. Address the allegations head on and separate the legal facts from the public speculation. All right? If you want the truth behind the numbers, y'all got to stay tuned. So I have got to introduce you to this awesome force that's sitting with me here. Joining us today is a figure who has been a pillar of the Monroe County Board of Education for over a decade, Dr. Barbarietta Turner. To understand the weight, of her recent termination, we have to look at the sheer scope of her service, right? Dr. Turner has been the heartbeat of our district's infrastructure, right? I don't think you guys know exactly what all she has brought to the table. Serving as the Director of Student Services, a system safety coordinator, a system athletic director, and a lead curriculum specialist. She didn't just hold titles, though, guys. She built systems. This is what I'm talking about. This is what Monroe County needed. From implementing our district's mental health programs and anti-bullying initiatives to upgrading our physical safety hardware and cameras, right? She's been busy. She has been an advocate for our most vulnerable students as well, a trainer for our teachers, and a bridge between our schools and the court system. Don't get it twisted. Dr. Turner is a product of Alabama's rigorous educational standards, holding a doctorate in leadership and professional practice, and has spent her career ensuring that Monroe County schools were the environment of accountability and growth. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's get with it. Are you ready? Barbarietta, Dr. Barbarietta Pugh, welcome to the Ella Johnson Show again. And welcome to Monroe County Uncovered.
Thank you.
You know, your resume is just phenomenal, by the way, right? You've worked hard. You worked hard. You deserve to be where you were there, and the future is bright for you. But tonight we got to get down with it, right? You know, you and I both have heard it. I've shared things with you, and we know that this is what people want to know about. But first, what I want to do, guys, is let's listen to last week's recording, and I just want you guys to pay very close attention to everything that we're putting here tonight, because you'll get it by the end of this broadcast. All right, so I want y'all to pay a close attention to this one.
Words to me. I said, sir, I don't know how to respond to that. That's a no-brainer. He said, well, your teachers aren't as good as you think they are. I like smoking, and I don't say this correctly. I just call it weed. I like smoking the reefer. That's what he tells me. I said, yes, sir, I understand that because I smell it now. He said, well, every weekend I smoke before your county high teachers. I said, well, then give me some names. He said, well, I'm not today. I said, okay, give me some names. Here's my card. Send me an anonymous letter. I got to have some evidence to prove. But if you are, I want them gone. You got a teacher that burns Facebook up every time somebody has a problem at County High. It ain't got nothing to do with her. All of you do. Martin, your folks over here at Excel, I have never in my life seen such. You can do something positive, and they are burning their phone up. I don't know if they call it April or if it's April's family. I don't know who it is. Wanting to know, trying to find fault in it. Your folks, your athletic club got this little case filled out here. We don't got everything approved. We're good to go. I walked in yesterday. Folks want to know, was that approved correctly? Who wants to know? Just some people in the community. What the hell? It's for your kids. Baggett, we're dealing with your situation down there. That's burning like wildfire. That lady has gotten a fight with her daughter's a teacher. She's stolen money. She's done academic fraud. She's not guilty of one of those things, but she's done all three. Just listen to the community.
Okay. Wow. We're going to play the other one, Barbarietta, before we comment on it, okay? You're just tuned in to the Ella Johnson Show. We are listening to the drops that Dr. Pugh gave us. So let's watch this one. Let's listen to this one from today, all right? This is the one from today.
It is Wednesday, July 26, 2023. It's 11:05 a.m. I'm Special Agent Dustin Lansford with the Alabama Ethics Commission. I'm in Monroe at the Monroe County Board of Education Central Office in the Superintendent's Office, speaking with Superintendent Greg Sheehan. Just for the purpose of the tape, if you would acknowledge you're aware and recording what we're saying today. Yes, sir. My name is Greg Sheehan. We're in my office at Monroe County Board of Education Central Office located in Monroe, Alabama. And it is July 26th, I believe, at 11:08 right now. Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh, it's my understanding that what the Ethics Commission is looking at dealing with 21st century timesheets and grant funds kind of came to your attention as a result of an anonymous complaint.
Yes, we received an anonymous packet that was mailed to me, my board members, and also State Department of Education, Dr. Mackey, and Federal Programs Director, Dr. Killingsworth. We looked into that packet. We also turned it over to our local DA and sent it to the Ethics Commission. Our lawyer advised us to do that. Mark Boardman advised me to do that. He also advised that he did not think it was an ethics violation due to that packet, even though there was no ethics violations in those accusations. We started investigating, started looking at the 21st century program because we knew we were going to have to reapply for that grant. We started looking at EGAP as a grant application. We noticed that there was administrative services money set aside for that. I asked Mr. Hanks, my Federal Programs Director, who would have received that. So we checked with our payroll department, and our payroll department showed us records that it went to Dr. Pugh. We then started looking for time and effort sheets, and we found time and effort sheets that she had turned in reflecting work that
pay Dr. Turner-Pugh additional compensation in relation to the 21st Century Grant?
No, I did not. That recommendation has never come from me to the board during a board meeting.
Although the grant may have an allowance for administrative fees.
Yes, the grant was approved by me and approved by the board, but it did not list Dr. Pugh as the one receiving those allowances.
Okay. And Dr. Pugh's title here is Director of Student Services.
Yes, Director of Student Services.
And you said she's also is or was a MOU with the State Department of Education.
Yes, she was on, as you would say, on loan with the State Department of Education as a regional safety coordinator. It was a MOU that was signed. She'd been on that MOU for 2 to 3 years. I think it's two to 3 years. She still had duties with us. She asked her to continue doing those duties. That would have been homeless grant, our 21st Century grant, and also Title IV, also our safety coordinator. While she still worked her MOU with the State Department.
And she is a regular County Board of Education employee.
Yes, if her MOU had been canceled from the, and it was, but if it had been canceled from the State Department of Education, she returned to us as a full-time employee because she is tenured with the Monroe County Board of Education.
Through the MOU, the County Board of Education would receive 100% reimbursement.
Yes, we paid the contract price, the MOU that was it was $136,000 for salary and then $10,000 for travel. So at the end of the year, we were reimbursed for the $146,000.
But say if there was funds expended through purchase orders for something specific to that 21st Century program, how did that work?
Those POs or requisitions would have been given to accounts payable, and that would have been Ms. Evelyn Johnson, and she would have handled that paperwork. Dr. Pugh would not have done that.
Okay. Is Ms. Johnson the one that would handle that for regular school expenditures?
Yes, she has
non-grant.
Yes, non-grant or grant. She handles it for all of our system expenditures.
Okay. You understand there's been a claim that Dr. Turner-Pugh had a surveillance camera in her office here?
Yes, I was told that there was a claim she had a surveillance camera in her office. I have kept her office locked since she was placed on administrative leave with pay. I actually went in her office once I was told of this claim 2 weeks ago, and the camera is in the corner of the office and her ceiling. I called the camera company, Richardson Communication, about this, asking for access to that camera footage, and I have not been granted that access yet. They have a representative supposed to be here Thursday, the 27th, to help try to locate that and give us that access.
But is there anything else you want to get on the record before I do that?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. I believe there's a total of 20 timesheets here. If you want to look through all of them,
Yes, sir.
and see just if most of them don't have anything beyond the second line filled out. But if there's any of them that have what you believe is your signature, if you'll identify those for the purpose of the tape, so we'll know what time you're talking about.
Yes, sir. This is my signature on 4/1 to 4/30/21. And that is not just an initial. I was questioning that would be a signature right there. And I cannot tell you if I did or did not sign that. I signed so much for Dr. Pugh. I'm not going to say I did not sign that. I could have signed that.
Nothing stands out as obvious that it's not your signature.
No, nothing on that stands out obvious, not my signature.
Do you remember anything being said? I mean, I know this is over 2 years ago now, but would that stand out in your mind if she did slip that on your desk and say, "Hey, I need you to sign this right quick"?
No, honestly not. I would have trusted that she actually worked at the 21st Century program, being that I knew she was the grant writer and the director, the county director for that.
Anything else you want to get on the record?
No, that's it.
And if you would, let me know when you do hear from the
Communications. Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. All right. Get this off. All right. Now, he said a lot, Barbarietta. He said a lot. Now, this is the thing. If you guys are just tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, I want you to know that last week we did talk about that anonymous letter. There's one thing we got to point out, Dr. Pugh, Barbara. Mm-hmm. He talked about the anonymous letter as giving advice. This is how he wants to resolve this issue. You can get an anonymous letter. I can get him fired. Did he not say that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did he do that when it came to you?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So here's that anonymous letter, guys. We're not going to go through it because we went through it last week, and we're bringing you new stuff this week. But I want you guys to just look at this. I want you to, this is the anonymous letter, and the person is still anonymous. I'm sure whoever wrote this, they're probably watching the show. They may have even talked to me at some point. But you know, this is what was written. This is the letter, and these are the people that received that letter. And you wanted to point out too, Dr. Barbarietta, that your mother did not receive this letter. She was not included.
No, and she's a board member, so they made sure, because it said that it came from the alumni of J.F. Shields High School, which is her district, that they did not send this letter to her. Okay,
we're gonna move along. Now we have this. Now, once that letter came out, guys, obviously they sent it to everyone.
Can you go back to that anonymous letter real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
The first page. If you all would, just for further reference, because this is going to come up later in the conversation. Notice who they said it was focusedly primary. Yep, it was primary. They were asking questions about K&A Consulting, and it was another one.
K&A Consulting.
Remember K&A Consulting, and
I think it was K&M or something.
And L&M Educational Services.
There we go.
Remember those. That's going to be a reason.
Okay. This is that anonymous letter. Now, like I was saying, we go over here. I want you guys to look at it. They received that letter into the office October 13th, i.e., this is the day that this letter is going out. Okay. That letter was addressed September 28th. It was sent out October 7th, and it was received at the board October 13th, which is the same day as this one. Okay. So I want you guys to pay attention. This is what the school board's attorneys felt about that anonymous letter. And I want you to share with them what this says here, because this is very important, Barbarietta, as far as how the attorneys saw that anonymous letter.
The school board attorney said to place somebody on administrative leave or detached duty based on anonymous letter removes your discretion in the administration of the Board of Education, and you place it in the hands of the anonymous letter writer, which is, in other words, they're saying that if anybody can just write letters, then you're giving them the power to hire and fire, not you. Further, the letter does not include specific evidence of a crime. There's no allegation that any employee personally benefited from the payment of government funds, but only that the anonymous letter writer believes such is suspicious. Further, the anonymous letter writers go to great lengths to demonstrate that individuals know each other or may have a relationship with each other. Yet, these relationships do not establish a violation of the Alabama law. The relationships established do not violate Alabama's nepotism law or meet the definition of family members of public officials or public employees under the Alabama Ethics Act.
So even the attorneys felt like this was nothing. So it makes you wonder, Dr. Barbarietta, why then would they have not just stopped here and say, you know what, we really don't know who wrote this. We don't have any proof. They just wrote it. They just said stuff. We don't know if any of this stuff is true. But yet, right away, they were willing to put you on administrative leave because of this letter. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, according to his testimony to the ethics investigator, This is the letter that got him to start investigating, asking questions. Remember now, when this letter was written, let's go back. This program was granted in 2020. Myself and others have been working the program since 2020. This letter was written in 2022. So for a superintendent to go and say, oh, once I receive this letter, I need to go start asking who's working the program, who's getting paid. I've been working the program for 2 years. We were going into year 3. So what was there to investigate? Because you knew that we had been having the program for 2 years.
And here's the proof of that. This is the board meeting where they introduced it. This is it. What is the date up there?
October the 8th, 2020.
So for 2 years, what was going on with this program that now all of a sudden in 2022, there's so much going on? Did you get audits over those 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you fail any audits?
No, ma'am.
Did you get any kind of red flags from the state for the 21st century grant at all over those 2 years?
No, ma'am.
Then all of a sudden in 2022, this is where we end up.
And when we go back to that, that was the board minutes. If you could go back to the board minutes. Once again, he says that it was never brought to the board, that I was never brought to the board to be recognized as the administrator for the grant. There it is. October 8, 2020, I presented that about the program. And then if you can go to the picture, there's all of us in a picture.
Here we go.
At the board. There we go. And it says that she had commended Pugh on the successful grant application. He talks about it, about the opportunities. And could you go to the actual application, the grant application, because that's important.
Right.
Because he made the comment that I wasn't the one that was supposed to have been working the grant. And if you look at it, this is the actual grant application. This application has to be signed by the superintendent. Once he signs this app, and there's many more pages to this, it's submitted to the State Department for approval. And then once the State Department approval is submitted, like you saw that night, to the Board of Education for approval. And if back on that first page, you would notice what it says. We can go up there, guys. It says signature of designated project manager. That's me, Dr. Barbarietta Turner. I certify that I am authorized by the governing board of the above named school system and other eligible entities to submit this application, and that all assurances, certifications, and declarations submitted will be observed. That's signed by Greg Sheehan. So at that moment, once he signed it and made me, I just became the administrator over the grant for 21st Century.
So let's talk about something he said in the video. He said, I did not authorize the pay. In other words, he's saying I had nothing to do with how much she was getting paid through this grant. How does that work, Barbarietta, that the assignment of the salaries from a grant?
It's written into the grant application. So once he signs it, once he reviews the grant application, the administrative cost is 20% of the whole grant. So the administrative side is 20%. That's my portion and the site director, who at the time was Ms. Yarber. So obviously, if I wasn't approved for the grant, then Ms. Yarber wasn't approved for the grant.
Wow. But then they talk about you weren't. So the money, so they're trying to make the money a thing, is what it sounds like. Is that what you're saying? That they're trying to make the.
He tried to pretend like he didn't know that I was being paid for the grant, but you had been signing my timesheets, because you see he admitted on tape that he did sign them. So how could I not been approved for the grant and you were signing my timesheets for 2 years for me to get paid? I don't pay myself. Those timesheets have to go before payroll, but before payroll, they go to the superintendent and then to payroll. And Ms. Yarber signed my sheets and the superintendent.
Now I know we're talking about this, but there was something that was interesting from the video, I mean the audio. You had surveillance cameras in your office.
I did.
Were you allowed to do that?
I was, because do you think I paid for a $300,000 surveillance camera? When we put cameras up in the school system, what happened was we had a board member that contacted me because she's the board member for, she contacted all of us. And I can find that email. She's the board member for Lower Peachtree. Anybody that knows about Lower Peachtree knows that system is almost an hour and a half away from Monroe County. That school. Her question, she was concerned about the safety of the students. And she wanted more safety. So what I did, I started writing grants. And because at that time, if anybody know, they were using computer monitors like I have in like you're sitting behind and I'm sitting behind. That's what they were using. And those systems were very outdated. So at that time, we went and wrote grants and we were able to get cameras in all of the schools. Brand new, top of the line camera systems, not only in all of the schools, but also in the classroom. Because we need to make sure that when something happened, we were on time. However, I asked for the principals wanted cameras in their office, and I asked did anybody else in central office want it. No one wanted the principals. There was one principal, she lost her mind. She did not want it in her office. And so I was told there will be no cameras in the principal's office. That's fine. I was just looking out trying to protect when you're dealing with students, because people can say you did something and you didn't.
Exactly.
So because of the fact that my title is Director of Student Services and I deal with issues with students and parents when there's a situation, I put the cameras in there for that. I put it in there for my protection because someone one time tried to infiltrate my computer system and download files off of it. And also because of this situation, I dealt with so much money and so many grants that at one time I was dealing with a plethora of over $10.5 million worth of grant money for grants that I wrote. I never had, let's get it straight. There was money never in my hand. It's just the grants that I wrote. That I felt like I needed everything for a checks and balance system.
Right.
And so the cameras were also just another way where nobody could come in and say, and you're going to realize that later on when we do another podcast, when it comes to Ms. Yarber, as to why you're going to hear a tape when it comes about her signature. And I'll just give a little snippet. She says that I forged her signature in my office while she was there. And that tape showed otherwise.
Now, speaking of Ms. Yarber, based on what I've learned, she resigned. She was given the opportunity to resign from Shield. She was serving as the principal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she was asked to resign. But I heard and I understand that it has something to do with money.
I can't speak on that. I'm on.
I know it. That's why girl, listen, I can sit here and talk to myself and get happy. But yes, we learned that the JF Shields Alumni Association is the one that pushed this issue to make sure that because she couldn't account for money. Now, it seems like we got rumblings in the Monroe County Board of Education, and I'm going to say that for those who are listening. This is not the only time. This is not the only situation where there's money, misappropriation of funds, or any of that kind of stuff has come up in these walls, okay? So for the record, let's say that. And I think by the end of this series, we're going to find more people. Because let me just say for the record, I do know of others. I do know. Okay?
Well, I would say for the record, he in the letter that he wrote, and it's on record, that we had a federal programs director who was fired and arrested. It was in the Monroe paper for misappropriation of funds. Now let's talk about this. This gentleman, a white male, was fired, arrested, but he was never went to the ethics, and he never had to fight for his license. He still has his license to this day. And this guy was arrested by our police department, admitted fraud.
So why do you think you're different?
I believe it was political, and you're going to see that on a tape. I think it was personal. There's going to be another tape from the ethics investigator when he talks to another head honcho in the system, who's a head honcho now. And you're going to hear what that individual has to say. I think it was another issue because if you heard him say, I made $148,000, I was the highest paid. But I also can tell you this, this letter did not get generated until I said before that I met with Mr. Sheehan, Ms. Yarber, I met about closing the grant, because remember you talked about auditors, we had the external evaluator. And when this grant came into fruition, we had just hit COVID. So our numbers were low. Kids were at home. They gave us a waiver for the first 2 years. So instead of serving the 150 students, we were only serving anywhere between 30-something students. The third year of this grant, when the external evaluator did her report, she said, now you're going to have to fulfill the requirements of the grant. You're going to have to increase your student enrollment. Ms. Yarber, I asked her to send out a letter. She only got back 40 students that wanted to do the program. So I met with her and Greg Sheehan on September the 28th, voiced my concerns. And it's ironic that that letter is dated September the 28th. So because I met with them and I recommended that we shut down, you got to remember now, by shutting down that program, that took money out of some people's hands.
Okay.
Teachers were not going to get paid. And that was, you know.
So let's back up, Barbarietta, because I need to make sure y'all get this. I need to make sure, because I don't want to hear anybody else talking about you didn't know. You're going to get it told the right way here on this show. You're telling me that you did the responsible thing, because you can get in trouble for spending that money and it's not appropriated the way you said in that application, right?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sharp and I went to we had several trainings and they would bring down the federal lawyer from Washington. And one of the things that they said is that they've had people to buy cars. They've had people, they said off the wall things. But the one thing that you had to watch out for was that because of what is written, the item specs that is written in the grant, you have to follow those item specs. And like I said, this turn evaluator said the state gave you a waiver, but now there's COVID. There's no tracing for COVID. So you should have at least 100 or so many students. Your numbers need to at least double, but that wasn't her words. Her words said you need to increase your numbers to what they were that you wrote the grant for. We couldn't do it when you only had 40 students. So, and one of the things that they were looking at talking about citing us for was that you had only 30-something students, but 16 teachers. That's not feasible. That's not good stewards of the money.
That's right.
So when I recommended this, that's the next thing I know. We're getting anonymous letters against me. We're getting calls to the State Department. And all of a sudden, there's an issue with a grant that there was never an issue with. I've got the superintendent sitting up saying, oh, I didn't know she was getting paid. I didn't know she was over the grant. But in that audio, and that's not an audio you heard him talking to me. That's a state investigator. He literally says, well, I didn't recommend her. But when you listen again to the end of the audio, he says, well, I trusted her because I knew she was the director for the program.
Contradicting himself. Yeah.
He contradicted himself because you can't keep telling a lie too long before the truth eventually has to come out.
Now, I want to bring this because this has some interesting information, Barbarietta. Let's share with everybody where did this letter come from and what's behind this, and let's talk about what's in this.
This is the letter that Mr. Sheehan wrote to the Ethics Commission.
Okay.
And if you look at this letter, I wasn't even on administrative leave. He wrote it November the 8th.
So you were still in the office when this letter was written?
I was still in the office.
All right, let's go.
Well, the letter was written November the 7th, and they received it on November the 8th.
So they're talking about you at this.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about what we have in here. Interesting stuff. Let's go.
It was brought to my attention that Dr. Pugh was listed as the program director for the 21st Century Program at Shields. Dr. Pugh is the grant writer for this program. After reviewing the grant application, it was found that Dr. Pugh had been paid $28,340. That's not for 1 year. That was for the 2 years combined.
Okay.
For the time period, as you can see, November 2020 through July 2022.
Okay.
The total amount paid to Dr. Pugh caught our attention. How did it catch your attention in November of 2022 if I've been paid since November 2020?
Exactly. Okay.
The salary amount had not been approved by the board. So that's another red flag that how can I don't write checks to myself. You have a payroll clerk. So how could I have been paid for something I was not a part of? I don't think the payroll clerk is just going to go giving out checks. And it's almost 3 times more than any other program worker was paid. I asked for timesheets for a reflection of time and effort to justify. So we got the superintendent telling the ethics that he asked for timesheets that he had already signed and approved. The timesheets reflect that Dr. Pugh worked an average of 2 hours per day at JF Shields with the 21st Century Program. After reviewing the time, and let's talk about the 2 hours. Remember now, I'm on the school time, and the 21st Century Program is an after-school program. So we all work 2 hours per day after school.
Okay.
After reviewing the timesheets, I was very suspicious of the amount of time submitted by Dr. Pugh, but you weren't suspicious in the beginning. There were 2 timesheets with my approval signature, 9 timesheets with Sophia, 6 timesheets with Miss Diane Turner, and many with no approval. Ms. Yarber is the interim principal and was the site coordinator of the program for the period of timesheets. Ms. Diane Turner is Dr. Pugh's stepmother. I questioned Ms. Yarber, and so just so I would go word for word, she stated that Dr. Turner-Pugh had not worked those hours. I inquired why did she sign the timesheet. She stated she never signed any timesheets. After further examination, it's obvious that Ms. Yarber's signature was copied. Each signature was perfectly the same. This would be impossible to replicate. It was also discovered that the signature by Ms. Diane Turner was suspicious. There are 2 different signatures, and this can be examined in the D's, in the name, and in the D's that was signed. I did not question Ms. Diane Turner due to her relationship to Dr. Pugh. But if you had considerations or concerns, then why did you question her? Should all individuals been questioned?
So what is all this with people now saying that they didn't sign the timesheet? Are the timesheets automated or are they manual?
They're manual.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand how. Okay, for the people that are watching, when you get a timesheet in front of you, who signs first? The person that worked the hours signs it first, right?
In their situation, it does. You got to remember now, I don't work at Shields. I'm central office.
Okay.
I'm the central office designee. I don't even have to go on that campus. I work from the central office. I'm the administrator of the program, not the site director. The site director was Ms. Yarber. Therefore, all timesheets will be on her campus. I checked in daily with them to let them know that I was on the clock. That probably was, and so what they did is she went ahead and signed my sheets and sent all the timesheets down for payment purposes.
Wow. So whenever people work on the weekend, who's monitoring that?
There's no weekend work for 21st. I would come in because I'm the administrator, but the teachers don't work in on the weekend for 21st.
They didn't work on the weekends.
No.
So when she signed the timesheet, how does she verify they actually worked it?
That the people in her building was working?
Yeah.
Because she's there. She was on campus. She's on site with
Okay.
This program is on JF Shields. It was written for JF Shields students.
Okay. So now they're having these issues. So it looks like there's still more talk about timesheets. It just seems so primitive to me that we don't have a better system.
Well, what happened?
Watching time.
Well, let me tell you how I was cleared with Ms. Yarber timesheet for the ethics. Ms. Yarber made a statement, and I'll play her tape next week, to the Ethics Commission that, now remember now I have been getting paid, and she says there's a date in January of 2022. Timesheet's been coming out way before then. There was a time we were in Dr. Pugh's office and we were working on revamping the grant because you have to recertify it every year. And when I got up, I put my coat on. She said she grabbed her documents, and that's when Dr. Pugh gave me a blank. Not anything. She said I gave her a blank sheet of paper and asked her to sign her name, and I must have copied her name on timesheets.
Oh, wow.
So thankful to God, I think that she forgot or didn't realize Dr. Pugh had cameras in her office. And the camera showed that Dr. Pugh never handed Ms. Yarber a blank sheet of paper Not only did I not hand Miss Yarber a blank sheet of paper, I never handed Miss Yarber anything. We were in my office for 10 hours that day working. I was on my computer the whole time with my back to her. When it was time to go, Miss Yarber gets up, she puts her coat on, grabs her purse, and she walks out the door. I walk out last.
So I'm curious, what kind of, as the program director, who is responsible for following that grant from A to Z? Who is the person that's responsible to make sure that money is spent the way you say it in that application? Is that you?
Okay. When responsible for making sure the money's spent that way, that falls in line with me, the superintendent, and the federal programs director, and the CSFO. But not only us, I have to, Ms. Yarber is we have a site director. You have what's called the site director and your program director. The program director is the central office designee. They're stationed at the central office. The site director, because remember now, we don't supervise those teachers, so we don't have the right to do that. So you have to have a site director who supervises those teachers.
Okay.
We'll step across the parameters of that. So your site director supervises everything that goes on, but also I had an extra advantage. I remember now I was the safety coordinator, so I had the camera system in my office where I could see every school in the system. So at that point, I would click on the cameras when it was time for 21st Century to start, and I could see every room in there. I could see everything that was going on.
So here's the thing. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of it. The State Department cited you for lack of proper documentation for expenses, attendance reports, and reasons for suspending the program.
Now let's go back.
Reasons for suspending the program.
Let's go back.
Okay.
The State Department cited Monroe County because Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh was on leave. If Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh had been at work, there would have been no citation.
So wait a minute. So you said something interesting here. So then you're telling me that when they came to check out all the paperwork and the audit to see if everything's in line, you weren't there.
No, ma'am. See, each school system is audited every 4 years for compliance monitoring. Every superintendent knows before the school year starts what their date of compliance monitoring. So we knew in August that our compliance monitoring was going to be in December. So it's coincidentally, if I had done something wrong, then you would have kept me there for compliance monitoring to have caught and saw it. I was put on leave on November the 10th before compliance monitoring even took place.
Did they reach out to you?
No, ma'am.
But you were still getting paid.
I was still on administrative leave with pay. If there was an issue with any documents, I should have been called in to address it.
So wait a minute. So then is this when Ms. Johnson was questioned about where the documents were, and she said, I don't know.
Yes,
you don't know. I don't know.
You can pull that document up.
Let's listen to what she had to say.
Can you make it big or?
There we go.
In court, Ms. Johnson was asked, where is it? I got it. Okay. It says your job is to cut checks. Just cut the checks and keep proper documentation. She said that's correct. So if there is any evaluation or monitoring, and somebody comes to your office needing a copy of these documents, do you have them there in the binder for 21st Century Grant? She said they were there. They're not there anymore. The lawyer said, what happened to them? She said, I have no idea. They said, is it your job to keep up with them? Yes, but I was not the only person with access to my office. The lawyer says, so if documentation is missing, you just don't know where it went? She said, I do not. I have where I entered the purchase order, as well as when I cut the check. But the backup, and I think that's because see, people kept saying misappropriation of funds. I can't misappropriate what I don't deal with. She says, I have where I entered, where she's talking about her. Ms. Johnson says she enters the purchase orders, she cuts the check, but the backup information as far as the invoices and the quotes, they are not here. And because those documents were missing, She said they started a new process where all checks and backup information is scanned. The lawyer asked her, did anyone confront you about those missing documents from the State Department? And he said, I mean, from the Monroe County Board of Education. She said, yes, they did. He said, and who was that? It was our federal programs director, Mr. Marty Haynes. The lawyer said, did you get wrote up for that? She said, no, I did not. I think there was a citation with monitoring. I'm not familiar, but that's why we instituted the new process.
Wow.
Those are unallowable expenses that they were saying were not turned in. So because they did not turn in those documents, it looked like items were purchased under the pretense of 21st century, but not used for 21st century.
Oh, wow. Wait a minute. Let me bring this back up. So then, Barbarietta, so you're telling me then that she can get away with just saying, I don't know? She can get away with that?
That's if it was any other school system, that would not happen that way. I'm just telling you the truth. If you look at Montgomery and any other school systems that had gone through monitoring and have been written up a couple of years ago, CSFOs, federal programs bookkeepers, they were charges brought against them. Those documents rest with her. So if those documents came up missing out of her office, should have been held liable for.
So then when they say that we don't know where the funds are and this $97,000, this is kind of part of where it comes from, because you can't account for stuff. And that's why you guys look. So it's a compliance issue. It ain't about somebody took $97,000. This is how much you couldn't account for, but you weren't there to account for it.
I wasn't there. And that's only a portion of it, because remember now, almost 60,000 of it was carryover money that never belonged to us anyway. That was money that was pulled down for the grant, and it had to be returned anyway. So that was never the board money. They put it in there trying to inflate the amount against me.
Wow. So, oh my goodness. So help me understand this. You had the documents. You had the proof, though.
I had copies. The way I worked in my office, remember I told you now I had cameras in my office. So anytime if there was purchase orders or any requests from the site director or her teachers for 21st century, I had to get approved by the superintendent and the CSFO, the federal programs director. Once I got that approval and it went to Ms. Johnson, then when she does a PO, she brings that PO back for the superintendent to sign. I had copies. So my assistant made sure that he did 2 copies. He did a copy for me to keep in personal files because we're dealing with federal programs. And he made a copy to keep in the file cabinet that was locked in our office. So even if she said that her copies were missing, why didn't they go in the office and get the copies out of the file cabinet?
Because it sounds like they wanted to make it look like this was an incompetent program. Because that's what they charge you with, incompetence.
Yeah, and if I didn't have copies of my own, of those unallowable, that they called unallowable expenses, that would have been an issue with the ethics. That's another thing that cleared me with the ethics. I was able to show where they considered that they were allowable expenses and that they didn't turn in the documents like they should have.
So tell me this, when you went before the ethics commission, you have to show them proof of stuff. You don't just go in there and talk.
Oh no, ma'am. Let's go back. Before you even go to the ethics commission, you have already had to turn in a plethora of documents to the investigator, who then turns it over to the ethics. They're judges. These are judges. So right. You have to turn all that information over to them. And they look at all that and then once they look at it, they bring you in, and then you have a trial. You have a hearing before them.
So all of this stuff that people are accusing you of, i.e. school board, because that's why they terminated you. They've sent all these words to the ethics. When they sent this stuff to the State Department and to the Ethics Commission, did they have proof?
See, that's what I'm not sure of, because I haven't seen any. All I've heard is talk. I haven't seen any and they have to show us documents. I've seen talk, but they've had no documents to back up what they said that I did wrong.
So I think it's very important for us to make it known here that when you're cleared by ethics, you have to sit before these people and they're basically looking at you. They're like, look, we know what we've heard about this lady, so she better bring it or she's out of here. We sending you right over to the DA.
And these are just not anyone. These are actually two of the judges were retired Alabama Supreme Court judges.
Okay.
One was one was a military. So these were judges. All of these, they're not just lay people. They're not a Barbarietta Turner who works for a school system. You're actually have retired judges who've gone through this and that are scrutinizing this document. You don't like, we went to court, I believe it was in February, and we didn't get an answer from them to April. So it takes them about they're going through all of this information.
Now you are questioned about the $97,000.
Yes.
Let's go through this, and then I want you to explain to everybody why there's a $97,000 deal out there. People are spreading these rumors that you stole $97,000. With this transcript and your knowledge of what happened, I want you to explain about the $97,000.
Okay, I was in court, and I explained to the State Department about because when the board was asked to break down the $97,000, they couldn't break it down. Nobody could tell where the $97,000 come from. So it's $97,307.80. And what I told them they had remember they said $28,000. They went back for only 1 year. So this was what was so confusing. The auditor, when they went back, what the state was saying, well, we're only looking at 21, 22. We ain't gonna even look at 2020, 2021. I guess she worked. So $15,280 for the second year. Then it came up to $22,512.18 for the unallowable. Those were those documents that Ms. Johnson said were missing. And you had should be 50. Do you see the 59,000? I can bring it up on my phone. I don't see it on here. Go up to another page.
Yeah, it's 4 pages that we have with this.
I can bring it up on my page.
Okay.
I have the document. So, but it should be on there. It's going to show you the exact amount. So you have, let me make sure so I can.
So while you're looking for that, I just want to let everybody know, listen, if you just tuned into the Ella Johnson Show, this is Monroe County Uncovered. And my first story in the Monroe County Uncovered is Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh, who was terminated from the Board of Education. So she's here tonight, as well as last week, to share her story. Okay, go ahead.
22,512. You should see something that says 22,000. I think that you go over to another. You have 4. It's going to be page 127. There it go.
There we go.
And it said the remaining balance is 22,000 in unallowable expenses, and then it's going to be the remaining balance. What is $59,512.62, which comes from the carryover money that we had left from the previous year. We get over $200,000 per year for the grant, and we have carryover money that was left. That money has to be returned back if you're not going to use the program. So in other words, we had extra money that was left over from the previous year that we could have spent. But because they decided not to do the program, you got to turn that money back in. That's not our money. That belongs to the federal government.
So for people
that equates for your $97,000.
There we go. So when people say that you stole $97,000, it's money that they had to turn over because the program was ending.
Yes. 59, almost 60,000 had to go back. Also, you had remember the money that they said was unallowable expenses. And it wouldn't have been unallowable if she turned those documents in. And then they were saying my salary. Remember, he said I wasn't the program administrator, so we pay her. So but I was the program administrator.
So when he was talking about that they had to the $146,000, are they saying they paid your salary back to the grant? I mean, I didn't understand that
No,
part.
let's get that correct. 21st Century is a supplement. That's not my salary.
Okay.
$14,000 a year is not my salary. That's a supplement.
Right.
My salary was $148,000. I was the highest paid employee in Monroe County school system. And that's because
even more than the superintendent?
Superintendent wasn't making but 130 or 135. So, and that's because I did double duties. I was working for a Monroe County school system, and I was also employed with the State Department of Education as the Region A safety coordinator, overseeing almost 10 to 15 school systems. So what they did, the state paid my salary because, and the thing is, she hadn't agreed to this. My contract was signed for 3 years. Another thing is, that's why I didn't get home sometime to 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I showed text messages where I would text Mr. Sheehan saying, hey, I'm leaving the building. Because of the fact that when I finished working for the State Department during the day, I had to come in, do 21st Century. And when I finished 21st Century, I then had to start working on Monroe County stuff.
Okay.
And so there were days I was in my office, because you got to realize now I'm still the safety coordinator for the entire region. So my salary came from the State Department, and what the State Department did, because I'm on loan to them while I'm still working for Monroe County. So when they paid my salary, Monroe County actually was making money off of me. They weren't losing money because they weren't paying they reimbursed Monroe County system $148,000.
Oh, wow. So that's
and then when I come off of my contract with the State Department, then I go back onto Monroe County. I'm still held liable. I'm still a board employee. And he says that in the tape. She's still a board employee, but they were getting paid good money from the state for me.
So when they lost this program, because they suspended the program, it was basically it was some of their own doing by not having the right paperwork.
Yes. Well, and the thing is, they initiated to close the program to make it look like I did something wrong.
Well, wait a minute. I thought you wanted to close the program anyway, right?
I wanted to close it, but I was told that I couldn't. That was in the first document that we showed last week. He said that Molly Killingsworth said, no, we're going to let the program go on. Okay. We'll work around it.
Okay.
And that's in that letter that you showed last week, where she said, no, we're going to let the program go on. And so obviously, if they were fine with it, like I told him in that letter, I don't have any control of that. I'm just making sure I'm clear for them to know that we don't have the number that the external evaluator said we're supposed to have.
So one of the things that's important to you, is it important? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is it important for you that the public trusts you in this situation?
Yes, not just this. Yes, I deal with their children. I deal with their money. I deal with, and when I say I deal with their money, I don't actually touch their money. But if I'm writing grants to have programs in the school system for your children, I think that the public should understand that I'm writing them grants and you should be holding me accountable. So yes, I think it's very important, because people don't understand. And I can show those letters at the next meeting. And some people will know this around here. I was in top contention for a superintendent job. Out of 30-something applicants, there was only 6 of us that were selected, and I was the only Black that was in the running for the superintendent for Escambia County. I made it to the top 10 for superintendent for Jackson, Tennessee. I was working for the State Department as well as overseeing 15-something schools. So I dealt with superintendents all across the state of Alabama. So not only in Monroe County, but my name has been tarnished over the state of Alabama as a thief, a liar, and a forger. So yeah, I consider myself, why you think, what person would put cameras in their office? I made sure that I was held accountable for what I did. I wanted to be held accountable to the parents and the district for what I do, to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do and everybody know that I'm doing the right thing. I didn't have anything to hide.
So let me ask you a question. Were a lot of people getting paid through this grant?
Yes, ma'am.
How many would you say?
According to them, it was 16 teachers. And I would say that because sometimes if a teacher couldn't work, they had to have a sub come in and do it for them. So you had all of your elementary teachers at JF Shields that got paid. You had the bus driver. You had the site director. You had one lady who would do the play. She would do the plays. Now, outside of them, you also had outside contracts that we worked with. And those were your partnership agreements.
So, I mean, the
librarian.
$600,000 and $200,000 a year is what you got through this grant.
Yes, ma'am.
So people were getting paid. Were they getting paid regular pay? Was it more than the norm? Like what would make somebody get so upset that it ended?
Because if you're
upset that it ended.
You're making what you're making as a teacher and you're getting an extra $25 per hour for the month, that's extra good money coming to you. And then when you work the summer, and this is what I had to explain, we had 3 different programs going on in the summer. So 21st Century was tied into those programs. So not only was they getting the $25 for the summer, but they got the extra $50 for the other program. So you're getting $75 an hour. And that's additional to their check. That's just not their check. That's the additional. That's an extra stipend. So that's another check you're getting cut for 10 months.
So what did you have to produce for this to be in alignment with the application? Did the kids' grades have to improve?
Yeah,
what was the criteria for it?
We were required. That's where my work come in at the central office with easy reports. You have to submit easy reports. So in your easy reports that you submit their daily average attendance. You submit the lesson plans. You show the data to show what they're doing in the classroom versus what they look like in the record. So you're trying to see if scores are going up, scores are going down. So there's a plethora of different types of evidence that you have to show and put into easy reports.
And did it? Did the grades improve?
Oh yes, the students were doing well.
Okay,
but our numbers were low, so you can only say, come on, we're talking about K through 6. We only had 30 at that time that were coming to the program.
Why you didn't have more than that? Didn't they have more students than that at the school?
They did, but for the first 2 years, when the grant was written, when this grant hit, we had just hit COVID.
Gotcha.
So when we started, our kids was on virtual.
Gotcha.
And then the second year, they had the option to come back to school or stay on COVID or stay at virtual. They could come to school or do virtual. So what happened with the third year? That's when they said, COVID's no longer being tracked. You got to meet your quota. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore.
And you guys were falling short.
We were falling short. So why would I, and I can't control if they want it, but I made the recommendation based off the external evaluators report, guys, we need to shut this program down. And I had full approval, not from Molly Killingsworth, because I never dealt with her. But for some reason, she keeps coming in the picture. I dealt with her assistant in her office who was over 21st Century.
Did you have to consult with anyone to make that decision?
Yes, I had to consult with the superintendent. I consulted with the site director, who was the interim principal at the time, Ms. Sharver, and I consulted with Annette Scoggins, who was at that time running 21st Century. That's her job at the State Department, to run some different federal programs have different entities.
And how did they feel about shutting down the program?
That day, it was not an issue. And Ms. Scoggins even wrote a letter saying, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to do boom, 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 boom. That's no problem. We understand. We'll start the shutdown process.
So let's show everybody this right here. Tell everybody what this is. Explain to them.
This is the budget sheet. We get one of these every month. The CSFO runs this budget sheet. And this budget sheet, every federal program has a budget. And so you have to keep up with your budget. That was also part of things. So like you see, student classroom supplies, instructional software, computer. This budget sheet, it actually shows the money that's being spent out for the program. Wow. As you can see, total revenue, $200,000. We spent $138,430.61. So that gives you a carryover $61,005, and that you add that other 200. Now, remember they kept talking about the 100,000. There you go. That was what was left, 100,000. That money doesn't belong to us. If you're not going to use the program, you got to send the money back. That's not our money. That's the federal government money.
And it just bothers me that everyone involved doesn't understand that. I understand they were making good money, but if it's because what happens is it's gonna hurt you from being able to get grants in the future if you mess this one up, right?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what would have hurt. That if we'd have kept that grant going, and we didn't meet those students, and we had the feds to come down when they came to, because once you close a grant out, they're going to investigate anyway, because they got to look at it. You got to pull all these documents. And we showed that we were still only serving 40 students, and we ignored the external evaluator's recommendation. They would have required us to pay back that $200,000 for that year.
Ooh, really?
Now, that's when you would come talking about Fed times, and that's where you have an issue.
I mean, I would protect my name too. I mean, your name is all over this. So, I mean, you've maintained your integrity. Why would you mess up now just because everybody want to get paid? Like there are other grants. Calm down. We're going to get more, right?
And this is the question that needs to be asked. If I was supposedly doing all of this fraudulent stuff, why would I ask to shut the program down and have it so?
That was kind of actually my next question. Yeah, because you would want to keep it going so you can make sure all your people are paid
and I still get paid.
So why do you think that they did not stop after you cleared your name? Why? What do you think? Truthfully,
I think that if you stop, then you had to show where you were in the fault. I think that it was to the point where we're going to show that she did something. We're going to prove that she did something.
It's about saving face at this point. They had to follow it through.
Yeah. It could have just been just as easy as, hey, it was investigated. There was a mistake made. Come on back to work. That's what I was hoping and praying was going to happen.
I mean, based on some of the things that I found, doesn't seem like you're the only one that should be in the hot seat. There should be other people sitting in there. What do you think?
I think that they said there was actually some things missing. I think that the federal programs director at that time should have been in the hot seat. And I think that the federal programs bookkeeper should have been in the hot seat. I think that the site director, and I think that the superintendent, because at the end of the day, he has the final call whether or not we're allowed to make those purchases. So if something was actually done, why am I the one that was being investigated? And let's go back. Who was investigating me at the board? I'm still trying to figure out.
I was going to ask that question because in the administrative leave letter, it says that we're putting you on administrative leave pending investigation. So I was going to ask you, who was the investigator on this case?
I don't know. Sound like they went up there and talked to the people at Shields, which is very ironic that these are the same groups that I guess the alumni that wrote the letter against me can't say. But however, I was never called in. Not one time during the 3 years that they were investigating before I went to the Ethics Commission was I ever called in to sit down with the board and say, show us. No one said, this is what we see. This is what we're told. You forged Mr. Sheehan's name. I think that board members, remember now, I'm going to go past the superintendent because if the board members allowed him to put me on administrative leave, the board members have a duty. They have a duty to the people that they serve. They have a duty to the employees that they oversee to have said, now you show us, this is the allegations against you. Now we're going to ask you the questions. That's what the ethics did. Show us the documents. If I'm being investigated, why no one ever called me in those 3 years to come in? I was never called to the board. Never, no one said, come in, it's time now for us to talk to you. I never spoke to anyone from board members during that time.
So they never asked you any questions about these allegations?
No, ma'am. And I was told by him that I could not talk to any board employees.
Wait a minute. So You got an anonymous letter on me, and not once did they say, Barbarietta, what do you got to say for yourself?
No, ma'am. Not even
Yeah.
that night. I didn't even know. I wasn't even brought up in the board meeting that night. I was there because they were being sworn in. I didn't even know I was being put on administrative leave until after the board meeting was over and he called me to his office. I was not even on the agenda. I was not taken in for an executive meeting behind closed doors. Nothing.
He just walked up to you and gave you the letter.
No, he walked up to me where I was sitting, said, I need to see you in my office now. Mr. Sheehan and the current superintendent, who was the federal programs director at the time and HR director, brought me in the office. He brought out that letter out of his binder. It was already typed. So he was already knowing. And so ironically, if I hadn't been there that night, I guess he'd have gave it to me on Monday morning in front of everybody because we were out that Friday. He called me.
Like you said, anybody can just write a letter and say anything. And it's like, okay, well, you need to go. Wait a minute. Anybody could have written that.
Well, according to him and not me, according to him, when he told that parent, just send me an anonymous letter and I'll fire.
Now, y'all got to pay attention to that. Okay, look, we're not making this stuff up. You saw and you heard in the video, in the audio recording at the beginning of the show, he said, look, you want me to do something? Just get me an anonymous letter and I can get him fired. Because that's his MO. And we didn't make that up. So that goes a long way right there, Barbarietta. Like, I know last week I asked you if you had the opportunity, would you go back? You said no. What is it that you do want?
I'm gonna be honest, Ella. Under anyone else's leadership, I would love to go back.
Okay.
I love Monroe County. I was born, bred, and raised here.
That's right.
I went to school here. I taught school. I went to school. Not only did I go to school here, but I taught school. And I know I love this place. But how can you work somewhere where you don't even know who in the central office was, you know, who I was involved in this? How can you be safe in a place where, and I'll say this, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but how can you work in a place where you know you don't even have your board member support?
That's true. And I know exactly why you say that.
And if I was wrong, then held me accountable. But you didn't even bring me to the table to see if I was wrong.
Not one person.
No, ma'am.
What's your relationship like with the board members now? Like, since you've been terminated, have you heard anything from them? Has anyone reached out to you?
No. Well, you know, one of them, she died this year. She passed away. She was on the board at that time. She passed away. So, you know, I hate that for her family.
Sorry to hear that. Sorry for your loss.
Another board member, he retired, had been on there for a long time. So then they got 2 new board members, and it was ironic that he waited till those 2 new board members came on to do the termination.
What do you think that was for? Why, what do you...
Do I think he did that?
Yeah.
Because I really can't say, but I know he didn't do it while the other 2 was there. So I'm not sure if he needed them off the board so that way, because if the 2 new board members can only listen and go by what he's saying, and I'm not there, and they remember now, if they haven't been on the board, they have never served on the board, so they're going to only go by what's being told to them. So if they're hearing one side of the story, who are they going to side with?
That's true. It sounds like a clique. And you're out of the clique.
And to be honest, they should have probably voted because I wasn't there to give my side of the story.
I'm just really disappointed that you were just booted out like that. After, you know, you got this $600,000 grant, you've brought a lot of money into this building with your skill set. Because writing grants is a certain set of skills that you have to be able
I
to
was
do
the
that.
only grant writer for Monroe County School System. And grant writers, anybody know, are paid for writing grants.
That's right.
I didn't get paid for writing grants. I wrote grants for our school system. Every grant that came through Monroe County, any federal programs, the ESSA grant, any of those grants, the homeless grant, the mental health grant, I wrote the grants for our school system to get those funds. Now, let's talk about that. I had all this money out on the table. When I left, there was $10.5 million. So I'm gonna lose my job over $97,000. Every other program that I had that was not affiliated with JF Shields passed compliance monitoring. While I was on
that
leave.
grant too.
Huh?
Yeah. That grant passed, but wait a minute. You said monitoring. Did the 21st Century Grant ever have a monitoring?
Not according to the State Department. According to the gentleman, when he had to take his deposition, he said that they did not monitor 21st Century when they came down in December.
Why not? I can only assume because they did not turn in the documents and probably just said there was no reason. I mean, they had already, but when he made it very plain and clear, we did not monitor that program. Is that a failure?
I think it's more than a failure. I think it's an ethics violation.
Oh, Lord.
Because how can you close a program that you have not monitored? Think about it. How can you close a program you have not monitored? How can you say that someone did this just by someone's word if you have not monitored?
So are they saying that it's your fault that program closed?
Yes, ma'am. According to them, they said it. But how can it be?
Yeah.
And remember now, compliance monitoring for this program was supposed to have been taking place in December. So I can only say that when they didn't turn in those documents, they said just close it out. There's no reason to monitor.
That should be a stain against Monroe County. Like, you got $600,000 that was entrusted to you. We trusted that you were going to do right with this, and it seems like they just blew it after you left.
Well, it made it seem like
documents.
The stain was on me because they made it seem like I was the problem.
But you weren't there, though.
I know I wasn't, but that's not how it was written up. It was written up as if I caused all these issues before.
So who do you blame for you being fired?
Who do I blame?
Yeah.
I blame the principal who was at the JF Shields at the time. I blame the teachers that lied on me at the time. I blame the current superintendent. I blame the former superintendent. And I blame the board members and the federal programs bookkeeper.
You blame all those people. What would you say to them right now if they were here on this show? What would you say to them?
What can you say to them? The only thing I can ask them is, why did you do it? Was it worth it? What did I ever do to you for you to come after my job like that? Literally, what did I ever do to you to try to take my job? But let's go farther than my job. What did I ever do to you to try to send me to prison?
Oh. Barbarietta, you and I talked about this, and you said, Ella, if I didn't have all my backup, you would have gone to prison.
Yes, ma'am. That was the first thing after I was sworn in for testimony. The judge told me that if we find you guilty, you will be turned over to the Attorney General's office for processing.
So just so we can understand what happened here, because we're almost out of here, because I want to make sure we keep it short, because I don't want you to be here like 2 hours like we did last time, because we were exhausted. When something like this happens, what does that do to your, because you're fighting for your license right now. Who's holding that in their hands? Who makes that decision?
The administrative judge. That's when you saw those testimonies. We had a hearing. He makes a decision, and he turns that decision over to the state superintendent, and he can either accept it or reject it.
Do they have to submit proof? Like, why not just let it be done? They terminated you, let it go. Why do we have to go so far with no evidence? I'm trying to understand why they're going for the jugular with you.
Only thing I can
Why?
think of, and that's not true, I can only assume, is because remember I said I was also, and Mr. Sheehan mentioned it, I was on loan with the State Department. And as soon as he wrote that letter to them, they terminated my contract. So I can only assume that they're trying to protect themselves and say, we got to find something to justify we terminate this contract without, because as soon as it went to the State Department, I got a letter in the mail from them. And their words to me was, based off the information that we received, we're going to revoke your license. You have the option. They didn't investigate. They didn't tell me to come in. They didn't talk to me. I got a letter in the mail saying my license was going to be revoked. I had three options. I can accept the revocation, I can surrender my license, or I can fight it. And I decided to appeal their decision and fight it.
And that's what you're in right now. You're in the waiting period to see what they decide.
I'm in the waiting period.
Is there something that people can do to assist you in this?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
How do you feel right now having to do this and be on here to try to
I'm going to be honest. I feel betrayed. And I say this, and it's the same thing that I told them at the State Department. I worked for you for 3 years. When there was COVID, I was the one going around to these different school systems, making sure your students were safe. When I would come home, I would sleep out in my garage in the man cave so that I made sure I didn't bring anything into my family. So in addition to working for the school system, I also worked for multiple school systems. And this is the way, and like I told them, you're right now in the state of Alabama, across the whole world, you got a president who's trying to shut down public education. Yeah. You have a situation where you're having to hire veterans to come in and teach the students, people that don't even have a background in education. You can't find teachers. But you're sitting up here trying to say that when you know I was cleared by ethics, that I did something wrong, and this is how you treat a public school employee for 20-something years? This is how you treat your employees in the state of Alabama. This is all we get. This is the thank you that we get. You know I was cleared. You saw the documents. You know that they did something wrong in Monroe County. So why? And remember now, Greg Sheehan recanted. He recanted on these for the ethics and for the State Department. I can't say I didn't sign that. Take it off the record. Well, you wrote forgery. So I'm still held accountable for his lies? When all I asked him to do is give me my job or either give me my license and let me move on. Let me do what I love to do. And that's educate children. I've asked for nothing else, Ella. I just want my license.
Yeah. I think that I'm trying to think here, like, what could people do on your behalf? Anybody that wanted to assist you. I mean, we got to come up with something, because I think maybe a letter or something, maybe from some students. Like I told you, there's a group of students that created a page on Facebook in your honor. And I thought that was very, very nice. And I think it's Students for Dr.
I reached out to, our State Department board for this area is Dr. Chestnut from Selma.
Okay.
She represents our area. I've reached out to her multiple times, and she's, been very nice. So I'm very appreciative of her. That would be the only person, because she's our state board member for this area.
Okay. And okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, we were distracted with the message.
I'm good, but and I'm gonna be honest. I don't want anybody to put themselves on the line for me. So at the end of the day, if you can just pray for me, I ask for prayers. I'm gonna be honest. I ask for prayers, because one thing I know about God has brought me throughout this whole situation, and I know He's going to continue to. But I know the more prayers that go up for God in my favor, I will come out of this situation okay.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I just ask the people, please pray for me.
One of the scriptures that I love is that when men what men mean for evil, God means it for your good.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't
I
want
just do believe that there's going to be some good that's going to come out of this.
I don't want anybody doing anything that they feel like going to put their job on the line. I wouldn't dare do that. So it doesn't cost anything to pray.
That's right. I've got one more question. Do you think there should be federal oversight into the Monroe County Board of Education? Should there be an independent investigation, internal affairs kind of thing coming down to Monroeville to see what's really going on in that office?
Yes, ma'am. I think they need to go back from my time that I was there to investigate. Yes, ma'am. I sure do.
I think they need to go before you as well. I think that what people don't understand is that the love of money is truly the root of all evil. And I don't understand, because one of the people that said here, they said, look, everybody was eating good. So why, you know what I'm saying? People were, because I mean, there were people people didn't like the fact that your family members were working there. Your sister's a nurse over at Lower Peach. I mean,
I didn't hire them though.
Why are you worried about that?
But I didn't hire.
Everybody get some of it.
I didn't hire. Hire. They keep forgetting there's a board. And also people keep forgetting my mom cannot vote for her children. A board member cannot have a say in their children. So when my sister was hired, blame it on the other 4 board members.
That's
and the
right.
superintendent, because the superintendent had to make the recommendation.
That's right. Now, I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to add about the 97? Because I hope, guys, those of you that are watching, I hope you got it now.
I can't add anything else to that. I mean,
yeah. I mean, because that was our goal tonight, is to make sure you guys understood. God before us, who could be against us? Amen.
And that's the thing. And I'm glad that's why I'm glad I was able to play this tape, because it clearly, you hear Mr. Sheehan clearly says, Dr. Pugh does not deal with the purchase orders. That goes straight to Miss Evelyn Johnson. So I can't take anything because my hands are not on it. I don't go out. I can't make fraudulent purchases. It has to go through her.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Stephanie says, yes, this corruption been going on for many years. Oh, yeah, because the more I ask questions, the more answers I get. And let me just tell y'all, conversation ain't always about Dr. Barbarietta Turner-Pugh. Let me just say. And also, there are people living in Monroeville right now. I'm going to say this because I hope that the Board of Education is watching me. And I'm going to tell you this. There are people that live in your community that are reaching out to the Ella Johnson show because you guys are failing on your job. You got people coming to you complaining and you're not doing anything. And you know what they're doing? They're leaving your office and they're calling me. And that's what I want the rest of you guys to do, because I am going to do something about it. I am going to make phone calls. I am going to send emails, because we're not doing this. We're not going to be corrupt and failing on our job, because at the end of the day, guys, here's the thing. You have these students. I want to hear somebody talk about the students. What? All this grant money and everybody's worried about themselves. And what about the kids? What about making them? Y'all have kids that are graduating from your schools that can hardly read. Now, that's really going to start to piss me off, because we worried about all this money, but we're not educating. We got to get past all this corruption, all this foolishness, and get back to what we're supposed to be doing. Correct? Do you agree?
You know, I thought education, and I guess I saw it wrong. I thought when you went into this, it's not about making friends and who like who and who don't like who.
That's right.
At the end of the day, it's about these students. You know, people get upset because I didn't hang out with them. People would get upset because I didn't do and like I told them, I can't hang out with you today and discipline you tomorrow.
That's right.
People, you know.
That's right.
People want to make all these accusations about me, but also, and that's the tape you're going to hear next week. And I want to make it real plain and clear. You're going to hear me go toe to toe with the superintendent and a principal about some actions they were doing with an elementary student. And so my job was once again to protect the students of Monroe County.
Yeah, when I get a call and I hear about a child in the elementary school as a punishment having to put his hand in the toilet
Oh,
to
hold
get
that
the
for.
tissue out.
Can we hold that for next week?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It can of worms open.
Yeah, I
Love it.
see someone said, how about the program someone made over 100,000 for less than 30 days? Yeah, while I was on leave, it was and we have the documents. I can bring those to the table. Um, a central office employee, they actually paid a lady to come in to the schools and they want to talk about something I did. This lady made 140 something $1,000 and was only in the schools for 30 days. And come
Oh,
to find out, she didn't visit some of the schools. And this happened about a year or two ago.
oh God. What?
Yes.
Seriously?
And see, those are things I didn't allow. I just didn't allow that. There's no amount of work you can do in a school for 30 days for that kind of money.
Now a lot of things are starting to make sense. Why Monroe County High School looks the way it does. It's just making sense. Failing. Thank God for Shatunda Howard. God bless you, dear. I know you've been through hell through this system and this process, just trying to do the right thing, but God gonna bless you too. All right.
They are. They
God is
really
going
are.
to bless
She's
you
done.
too.
She was phenomenal. I
Yes.
look. She came under my dad. She couldn't help but be phenomenal. And you can see what happened to Miss Howard. They got rid of her, and her scores were up.
Yeah.
So you know why would you? And I won't talk about it because she's not on here to defend herself. So I'll stay
Of
away
course.
from.
Of course. Yeah. And what do you think about the score right now? Right now, the superintendent got a 61. What does that mean? Because I really want to know, like, what are the metrics for that? Explain
I'm
that to
not.
me.
I'm not sure because that's that he's graded by the board members. So I really don't. I wouldn't be privy to what the parameters are for what they grade him on.
One thing we know that means when I see 61, it means sucks to me. That's what it looks like to me. You're not doing your job. That's what it looks like to me, based on what I've learned. And I haven't learned a lot about it, but that's what I learned about where that grade comes from. They're basically saying, what are the schools looking like? Are the kids learning? I mean, do we have a lot of kids? Are we kids enrolling? Are they changing? Are they going back to county high? Like, because let me ask you a question. I was just thinking about this today, Barbara. Whenever the school is failing, the kids get to go to any school in the county, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when
Yes.
that school is not failing, do they have to go back?
They don't have to go back because they're already at that school. They've already grandfathered in, so you can't send them back.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot send them
So
back.
what happens if more and more students start leaving out of the school? In other words, like at Shields, I don't know what the enrollment is there, but I'm
I don't know.
assuming it's like 100, maybe. Let's just pretend it's like 70 or 80 students. It's like less than 100. What could eventually happen? Could they eventually shut the school down and
That
move
would
them to Monroe?
that would be a board and superintendent decision.
Wow. Well, anyway, I'm just excited. Do we want to do our cliffhanger?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's do our cliffhanger. Listen, guys, when I started to do this show, I knew that there were going to be people that would get angry. There were going to be people that were not going to like it. Well, that's never stopped me before. But what we have to realize is that we got to stop lying to ourselves, because I think that that's why we're not where we could be, where God want to bless us. We keep talking about bless our land, but I think that we're going to have to learn how to be honest and have integrity before God would do that. We want to be examples for the younger generation. All of us have to do something to this is just how I was raised. I grew up in a time with the Ernestine Odoms and the Whitings and all those kind of people that we sat under and went to marches and all this kind of stuff. And we were told that there will come a day you guys are going to have to do it. Well, that day is now. And this is going to have to get ugly before it gets better. But just make no mistake about it. It's not personal. But this, when I say that I care about the kids, and I'm not lying, I really mean it. It's not a cliche or a motto for me. I don't even work in the school system, but we have to care about our kids. So that's why I'm going to show this. We're not going to go into it tonight, but I want to show you guys This is how broken our system is. Now, I want you to talk about this, Barbarietta. What is this?
Are you going to do this one first or the other one?
All right, we could do the other one first. Let's do the other one first.
Okay. I was put on administrative leave, remember, November the 10th at 7:00 p.m. I was told by the superintendent to not have any conversations with any board members, any board employees. So no one should have even known I was put on administrative leave other than the board members. My mom didn't even know. She didn't even know. I brought the letter back in to her and she was dumbfounded. The next day, I had an individual to text me asking me how I was doing. And I'm sorry this happened to you. And these are the text messages. I said, I just want my name cleared. They said, I don't blame you. A person's name is all they have. You don't run a person's reputation. Someone is trying to set you up. This is a board employee. So why would this board employee know this? Because a financial report was posted online and it's never been posted before. I looked last night to see if one was posted from Thursday and it's not. I said, what's a financial report? Where can I find it? So that lets you know I didn't even know what they, and she said, go to the board agenda. Who does those? I said, okay, I think the CSFO was supposed to post those reports and just wasn't for some reason. And she says, oh, okay. I want you, this is very important. This was given, once again, November the 11th. I guess someone asked for them because I was told that people from Beatrice, of course, has copies.
Copies spreading around, stuff that they're not supposed to have their hands on, right?
So what are the copies that they have? Do we have that one? Do you have that one, or are we going to leave that as the cliffhanger?
No, let's look at the other one because I didn't do them in order. I just wanted to bring those two. This is the one right
and
here.
It says, okay, I guess someone asked for them because I was told L&M and K&A. L&M and K&A were the two that were on that anonymous letter back in September. So how would this school teacher know about this if it was on that anonymous letter? And why would L&M and K&A, why would copies that's supposed to be in the bookkeeper's office locked up, why would those contracts and purchase orders be floating around in Beatrice? Are the two they're questioning? I got this from my aunt. She said Gwen told her that. She called me this morning. I said, yes, it's public knowledge, I guess. So it's really nothing to be hidden. I said, I'm just praying for those who are trying to destroy me. I'm leaning on God to get me through this. And the person said, how's your mom? I know she's upset. I said, I follow directives. I can't answer any questions because of her position. Sorry. And the person says, I understand. Did we have another one?
No.
Okay.
We're just doing that. We're going to bring out all of them next week. This just goes to show, guys, that you have people in positions of authority that can't even keep their mouth shut. So you want them to have integrity, managing money, and they can't even manage their mouth. There's sometimes you just have to be quiet. This is how rumors start. This is what has made this so horrible because people are just like, come on, guys, we got to do better than this.
But it's more than a mouth because someone in that central office gave out copies of documents to community members, according to this individual in Beatrice.
Ugh.
And those are people contracts. Those are purchase orders. Yeah, those are things you
can have
post.
Social Security numbers on them.
Yeah, and you can post that stuff and black it out on the school website. But that means some individual who had oversight over those were passing those out, which to me let me know that is that what you were trying to use to destroy me with the anonymous letter? Because why would they be in Beatrice?
You know, I've been, like I told you, I've been getting a lot of messages because, guys, listen, I do not mind bringing people onto the show. I have told Barbarietta, listen, someone wants to come on the show because they have a different viewpoint. I allow that. That is what my platform is for. But you guys just waste time and sending me emails and complain about, well, you don't listen. You don't have any other information that you're presenting. This is the information I have. If you have something in your hand that says that proves that Barbarietta stole something, send it to me, and I will bring it to this broadcast. If it is legitimate and you have some information, because we're trying to bring the truth. This series is about, let's talk about it. She didn't get a chance to really do this, and we will talk about that too, because of the termination and how everything went. Like, come on, Boda. You mean to tell me this woman wrote a $600,000 grant for you, put you on the map, bringing good stuff to Monroe County because it was going to just grow and get better, and you couldn't even ask her if it was true? See, I didn't realize that, Barbarietta, that they never even said anything to you. They took the letter and ran with it. Because when you ran with the letter, you're telling me you already believed it. You didn't need to investigate. And that is just unbecoming of people that are supposed to be the leaders of education in the city, in the Monroe County. I just don't understand.
Why would you investigate when you've already told people, a parent, just give me an anonymous letter and I'll fire?
He said it and he did it. That's what I'm tripping over. He said it and he actually did it.
So if he said that to that parent, what other parents had he talked to? And that parent wasn't even about me. That had nothing to do with me.
Yeah. We're gonna get out of here, girl. It's been real. Y'all stay tuned. We just wanted to drop those two. Next week, we're gonna bring the entire text. And you notice I blotted out where that came from because that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant, right, Barbarietta? We're not trying to expose the person that sent the text message, right?
You're not, but I am.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that, like I said, I've had this text since 2022 and I haven't said anything about it. But let's be one thing clear. That if you're going to go out in this community and spread false lies about me, please understand that I'm going to come back with the truth, with documents. Don't spread false lies about me when all I'm trying to do is clear my name. I have not come out and said anything about anyone other than the individual that was responsible that started this. So if someone's going to come out, then I feel that I have the right to be transparent and clear my name.
Okay. Well, guys, listen, I appreciate you all for tuning in to this series, Monroe County Uncovered. And do you think that's a good name? Monroe County Uncovered. It's time for Monroe County to be uncovered. I mean, listen, we're going to have stories because, guys, since I started doing consistent shows, I've been getting a lot of people are reaching out with being unhappy about what's going on in Monroe because now they feel empowered. And I think you're helping a lot of people too, Barbarietta, by doing this show. I've had at least 2 or 3 just today of people in the educational system that are caught up, that's not happy with what they're seeing, how they're being treated when they go to these schools and when they come out to you guys, Monroe County Board of Education, having meetings with folks and then just not getting back to them. No. We're going to set a standard. We need to rise above it. Because if we're going to talk about it, we need to be about it. Because if we can't do any better than that, what the hell do you think is going to happen in these schools? Like, real talk.
And that's why I want to bring it out next week in an audio that I'm going to drop about a certain situation at a school. Because it's one thing for people to go and talk about my character, but until you actually hear me fight and defend for a student, then you'll know what kind of person I really was.
And I'm glad you said that, because you mentioned some things to me. Because this woman, she's out here fighting for you guys' kids. I think it was one situation you told me about one time, and then we're going to go. That there was something that you did, and that same parent, you're like, wait a minute, you're sitting here coming at me, and I'm protecting your child. I'm not trying to hurt him. I'm trying to do right by these kids.
I had a situation where someone came and told me that one of the parents was out telling people that her mama can't help her now. Let's see what happened to her. Her mama can't save her now. And I happened to see that parent one night, and I made the comment to her. I said, how dare you sit up and say her mama can't help her now? But when they were trying to expel your son, saying that he stole a necklace from someone, and you called my office crying And because I have those cameras and I can see everything in every school, I went to bat. I was your child's parent. When you couldn't be a parent and protect your own child, I kept your child from going to alternative school. I became your child's savior that day. So how dare you could sit up and say, my mama can't save me now? That really hurt.
And you've been transparent with me about some things that have hurt you through this process. The betrayal, I think, is the one that's hurt you the most. But that's all right. What men mean for evil, God means it for your good. Just remember that. All right, guys. Well, we're going to definitely get out of here. Stephanie says, I appreciate your boldness and courage, Dr. Pugh.
Thank you.
If more people would come out and stand up, it would be more empowering.
Thank you.
I am super proud of you, girl. I know because I didn't know it was all this until you and I started talking to try to produce this show. And I am proud of you. I look up to you. I love your courage because this can't be easy.
And well, you know, it's not, Ella. You know, I text you this week. I wasn't even going to do the show this week. I wasn't going to do a drop. My spirit was heavy after I heard a couple of things people were saying. And I was like, you know, what's the point? These people are never going to believe I didn't do this. So you know it. We had a long talk. I almost didn't even come on here.
I know.
Because, I mean, how much more do I have to show you that I didn't do this? I didn't do what these people said I did.
Right. To God be the glory. There's someone watching this show right now that's probably got a story. I'm telling you, it's gonna be bigger. This is bigger than us, right? This is bigger than us. All right, guys. Well, listen, I will be back on Sunday for a conversation about T. Tunstall continues. And from what I hear from a little birdie is that this one's gonna be a little explosive. They got some stuff to say. So y'all do not want to miss Sunday's episode of the Ella Johnson Show. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do me a favor, guys. Because you didn't like the broadcast, but I know you like the broadcast because we had some good information tonight. So if you enjoyed the broadcast, please share it and like it so that we can just be all over, you know, with all of our subjects and comments and shows and bringing good content to you. So I appreciate your support. And those of you that are already doing that, thank you so much. Don't stop. All right, guys, we'll have a great evening and we'll see you next time on the Ella Johnson Show. Have a great evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now, and we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.